It is Wednesday again. This is the Wednesday Night Mouse Party. I am just putting a link out there for this week's poll, which I kind of forgot to do while we're getting ready. Huh. That's the wrong link. I think that linked to Hillbilly for some reason. Let's all right, let's try this again. Let me copy that. Paste that there. There we go. I think that's the right one there. All right, let me pin that one. There we go. So if you haven't voted in this week's poll, you can head over there. Hopefully that's the right one.
I just voted.
All right. Excuse me.
Oh, banner.
Oh, thank you. Let me get the banner going.
Larry brought it up.
There we go. Yeah, I just woke up, which I think G-Webs and Gary have also just woken up. So it's a little bit of a slow start this evening, but we'll get her going. So at the bottom of the screen, there's an email address on technofoss@gmail.com. And the link, you can send in suggestions, comments, or pictures within reason. And if you watch this in replay, leave a comment. Anything we talk about, agree with, disagree with, think we left out, let me know. I always read the comments, and they are always appreciated. So, taking a quick look, Gary was out there first. And Larry Knopf's out there. King Henry. The Saint. And I think that's everybody that said something so far.
G-Webs.
So. G-Webs. Good evening to everybody. I finished last Friday. I finished the Glock Rise of the American Handgun, or I forget the exact title.
Rise of America's Gun.
What's that?
It's just Rise of America's Gun.
Rise of America. I have mixed feelings about it. There's a lot of good information in there, stuff that I didn't know. It's a good snapshot of what was going on at the time, and definitely written by I forget.
Barrett. The guy's name is Barrett.
Not a gun guy, and pretty fair, but there was some stuff that, I don't know, kind of bugged me. Like when he's talking about the I forget exactly how he put it, but basically common sense compromise on stuff like 10-round magazines, and that's kind of near the end of the book. And when he mentions Ruby Ridge, which I am not a huge Weaver fan, just kind of, but I'm really not a fan of what the FBI did. And how he kind of glosses over that and says that Weaver was was a family of, forget what he says exactly, but basically,
Probably survivalist or something like that.
well, he says that they're gun traffickers, and it's basically just like one or two lines, but that's not what started the whole Ruby Ridge thing with Weaver.
No, it would only be that if you only read about it, right? If you only researched it and you didn't really care to research all sides, you just researched the Wikipedia article.
Yeah, and I went back and then read up more about Weaver's trial and Ruby Ridge, just to kind of refresh my memory. And yeah, no part was he charged with trafficking. It was the two government informants came to him and asked him to saw off some shotguns. And so he said, okay. And then he missed the court date. That's what kind of started it. That's why they went up to his compound up on the mountain.
Right, but if you read a summary of it and you didn't really pay attention to it,
Yeah.
you didn't realize that it had a significance to it, and you just, on the surface said, oh, somebody summarized it as gun trafficker, meaning working on, doing work on somebody else's gun, I guess. That's the only thing I can. Then I'm trying to give leeway to the guy, but I agree with you that it's a bad. Well, when was it written? Like 2008 or something. Even then, it was, I want to say tone deaf, but it was just limited. It was weak research. It was indication of not enough research in that area.
But again, there's a lot of good information in there, and for what it is, it's fairly neutral.
It is. I like it from being like a 30,000-foot view of just guns in the United States from like the 90s to the 2000s.
Yeah, and I thought it was probably about where a lot of people who aren't gun people, who are just in the middle, they're not anti-gun, they're not pro-gun, but that seems to be how a lot of people are, so it's a good look at how that middle section looks at guns.
Middle on our side. I mean, I think he's definitely he's middle. He's not he's neutral, but he's neutral on our side. He's not like, you know what I mean? I think he's not picking on us constantly. He doesn't know 100% of our opinion on stuff, but he's not so anti that he's going to get praise. Like, I'm sure they think of it as a pro-gun book on the other side.
Yeah.
They don't think of it as anti.
Yeah, I could definitely see that. Except one's out there.
Not that it's super pro-gun at all. It's just that it's not anti-gun enough for them, so they're going to label it as pro-gun, I would think.
Yeah. But I think it's definitely worth reading.
Do you think that it would be a book if it was like the Beretta story or the story of Smith & Wesson or like any other gun? Could they have done that much back? You've read it, right, Gizzard? Like, could you have gone that back and forth over guns in the United States with any other brand?
I don't know that the story would be the same with another brand, though. I mean, nothing is synonymous with guns the last 20 or 30 years as the name Glock. I mean, it's gotten into our popular culture so much so that a lot of people think any gun is called a Glock. I mean, it's just kind of the symbol for where the firearm industry went and stuff like that. So,
yeah, it's kind of like the AR-15 of pistols, huh?
I think so. It's, if somebody's gonna find something, if the antis want to pick on something, they're gonna pick on Glock. Even a lot of people who love guns don't like Glock, so it's a real good. Or people love them or hate them. Everybody knows what Glock is. So, and I think it's kind of iconic in that respect.
Baron's out there. Baron SVG. Good evening. Yeah, I don't know the histories on the other gun manufacturers, and I think part of the reason it might be different is just there's so much about Gaston Glock, and it's it's not. I can't really say it's not about the company, but it's a lot about him, his personality.
Right. And there isn't like another Glock, right? Ruger and Smith & Wesson are long gone. Colt,
Yeah.
long gone.
Yeah, so I don't know. I don't know if you could do it about any other brand. But like I said, I think it is worth reading. There's just some stuff that kind of bugged me. So it kind of gave me mixed feelings about the book overall.
But I don't know if it was as much a gun story as it was a story about how marketing works.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Economics.
In like 6 different ways, because first they had to sell the gun to us, and then they had to sell it to like Hollywood, or then they had to sell it to cops, and then they had to sell it to whatever media.
And
Maybe
as we as creators do what we do for years and years and years, we see how advertising governs a lot of what we do and what people buy. I mean, it's all about names, it's all about images, getting publicity and stuff like that, as much as it is performance of the gun itself.
And let me copy that. And Larry was asking about the title again. Here's
I just put a link in there. That's hashtag ad.
Oh, okay, yeah, I was actually just doing that. So G-Whips put a link to the Amazon.
So you can listen to it for nothing. The audio. Wait, is the audiobook on YouTube?
I couldn't find it on
I
YouTube.
bought the audiobook, but I was such an enthusiast. Whenever I first found this book, I bought a couple of versions of it.
Yeah, I downloaded it from iTunes.
What's neat, I don't buy that many audiobooks, but what's cool is when you buy it, at least you've got it forever. Like whenever I go into like an Audible or whatever the place I downloaded it from, maybe it was Amazon, I forget. Like if I go back and look at my history, it's always there. I can always just download it again. But I think I've only listened to it on tape. I don't know if I read it. I may have read it though. I just reading the Google, or what is it, the Amazon description here. It says based on 15 years of research. That's interesting. I mean, I would definitely say he has 15 years worth of, he's researched 15 years of the gun. But do you think he actually was researching it for 15 years? Like he spent years of his life researching it? It'd be like half his life.
I found go ahead.
Maybe it was just kind of an off and on. He spent 15 years just on this. Just kind of over 15 years.
Yeah, I've been a gun researcher for 15 years or something.
What were you saying, Gary?
Well, I found an interesting take. I'm reading the Wikipedia article about the book. Yes, there is one. And it says the book details the history of the famous Glock pistol. It also points out the business mistakes of rival gun makers that helped Glock surpass them all. I didn't think about that way, but it actually really does. Glock played off of a lot of the things that the other gun makers weren't doing that they probably should have been, that they were kind of sitting on their laurels and they kind of did an end run around everybody else. So it's kind of a statement as to, the stagnant gun industry back in the time that Glock came about, and they kind of they turned the whole thing around and made everybody scramble, and it took them a long time to catch up.
What's cool is that you make it sound like, they sat down, saw this playing field, and made this plot. But in reality, it was he just did something differently. He didn't stop people from running with it, and people ran with it in a different direction than the other gun companies were doing, or what people were used to in media and in other ways with military and stuff, and law enforcement and stuff. So, yeah, I mean, I think everything you said is correct. It's just that it's not like Glock sat. He sat there and lived it, but he didn't plan it all out. He made the decisions and dealt with the consequences, and they pretty much were all a benefit to him. But I don't think I know he didn't. He just made a gun for Austria, and then all of a sudden it blew up over here, and he just ran with it. He allowed them to sell it. But if the only thing he could have done is say no, but luckily he said yes, and he didn't hold the reins at all. He just let them take it, and it luckily, well, I guess I don't know if it was inevitable or if it was luck that it played the way it did.
Well, and then you add in there's a couple of people along the way that he runs into and then starts working with, and who help push all this.
Right, like the guy I'm thinking of is the marketing guy, or not really the marketing guy, but just the guy who helped sell them in the United States for him.
Yeah.
I don't want to sell them in the United States, so yeah, go ahead and sell them in the United States. And then all of a sudden, that's their most of their money. And then.
So again, I think definitely worth reading. I just personally have kind of mixed feelings about the book a little bit.
I think I would have called it like The Gun That Changed the World or something. Although I don't know if that would have got people that hate Glocks to read it, but.
Yeah. And I like Glocks. For me, I don't have any problem with the grip angle. They're, comfortable. They're not my favorite. My G20 is one of my favorite guns I own. And I love shooting it. But I don't have a Glock collection or anything like that. I just, I've never had a problem with Glocks, but.
I have my 3. But it's funny how nowadays just about everything that comes out is a Glock clone of some sort. So, if they're such a horrible maker that's not changing with the times, why is everybody emulating them? I mean.
Well, in my experience, growing up with guns at least. So I grew up with 1911 Envy because that's the gun that, World War II and World War I and then Korea and Vietnam, right? So in the 80s, that's the gun that had seen everything. And the only contender was the Beretta. And it was not ours. It was metric, and you couldn't get 9mm everywhere. So it wasn't a common caliber, really. Competition shooters hadn't started using it yet, and there was no CCW back then. There was only a couple of states that just didn't prohibit it, but it wasn't common practice for normal people, regular people to carry guns. Pretty much only cops and detectives carrying guns, right? And criminals, I guess. So, when the Glock came around and stuff, its impact was minimal, I guess, at first because it had such. I think the reason what Gizzard was getting at, the people hate it so much, is because everybody hated it for a while there, for a long time, and then it slowly you either came to guns and you didn't hate it already, so you gave it a chance, or something about it. You had to work, you had to use it at work, or for some reason it won you over at some point. and then it started to be more what's the word, like more common. But I think that took a long time, really. So there was a heck of a lot of gun owners that I'm aware of, like, and not just people older than me or as old as me, but just, there's always people coming into guns. But if you came into guns since the 90s, you've got a different relationship with that Glock for the last 2 decades or whatever, until all this recent number of new gun owners who are coming at it is, the Glock is just like the 1911, the old standard, but it's not new and it's not up to date with all the newest hip trends and fads and stuff, like, whatever that happens to be the new trend or whatever. So I think that's why Glock has to deal with, I don't know what the word is, like that attitude, or that, it's sort of like the living 1911. It's a platform because it existed for so long and became so established before this, like, I don't know what to call the recent explosion. I'd say since about 2010, though, there's been an explosion, and you don't need to start with a Glock or 1911 anymore. You can do whatever you want with the, however you want to look at it, 80% or clones or whatever, right? I don't know, is that when the patent wear out, or is that just when technology caught up with people's interest in having a unique thing? Anyway, so I think it just came along at a time when, I don't know, no other gun was filling that place in our, I don't know what to call it, in our industry, or if I call it our community.
Yeah, because if you look, what else was out when Glock came in? Like the
All metal guns.
P89.
Yeah, it basically, exactly. They had gone from metal steel guns to aluminum frames, and there was a big debate for a minute on whether or not aluminum could hold up, because aluminum. So can aluminum hold up to steel? And then Glock came around, and it was like, look, now they're going to try anything, and we had a lot of failures in plastic guns. They weren't big, so no one really pays attention to them. I didn't even know about them until I researched some of them, but they're it's not easy to just tool up for plastic guns. So people that did it picked the wrong plastics, or they picked the wrong design. And it's not like now where you can just go, oh, tweak the design, or, like, get a lot of feedback. Like, you put everything out there, and if you fail, you just go to business. So anyway, I think there's,
Glock made people want plastic guns.
like
they were there before, but they weren't something people desired to have. All of a sudden, everybody had to have this.
If you ever picked up like a Tech 22, Intertech Tech 22, or something of that era, like, that plastic was different. It's not Glock plastic. It's not glass reinforced polymer. It's a more of like what they made a telephone. It's more like a Bakelite type of brittle plastic, and it just wasn't working for guns as well. It worked for 380s and 22s, but that's it.
Yeah, I've heard people say, well, plastic is plastic, and no, that's not the case.
But in the 84, plastic, you know what I mean? Like, we didn't have the same respect for plastic. And I don't know if the Glock alone, but that definitely the Glock helped with people's understanding that plastic can be a pretty durable material. Do you think they should make a movie of it? Maybe not the book, but Glock or somebody, so, because he's had a pretty crazy life as a dude.
Gosh, I'd almost bet on that happening eventually.
Yeah, I don't know if it's got a good script. You can make anything interesting. So let's take a look at this week's poll.
I was going to say, I'd like to see, Archer the cartoon. I'd like to see something like that made it for the Glock story.
This week's poll was, you ever dance with the devil by the pale moonlight? And I'm Batman. 71%.
Huh. How did that happen?
I have a feeling we're not in Kansas anymore. 10%.
That's what I voted for.
Yours,
that was my vote. Yeah.
Paws off me, you damn dirty ape. 8%. And then tied at 6% was, frankly, my dear, I don't give a damn. And I'm freaking out, man. You are freaking out. Man. Also at 6%. And for the comments, there's only a few comments. Kingpin said, "Oh, I just like the way it sounds." She Fire said, "Love Jack." Yeah, I believe she's referring to
Jack Klugman, Quincy.
well, I always mix up now I got Jack Palance stuck in my head. Not Jack Palance.
I can't think of the guy's name either now. I'm trying to think of it.
Nicholson? Is that who you're
There
thinking?
you go.
I always mix up the Nicholas and Nicholson, the golfer and the actor.
Yeah, believe it
I
or
was-
not, they're two different people.
R4 Mississippi Thunder said, "I danced with the devil. Not anymore. He can stay away from me. I'm a saved man of the Lord. Highly, highly recommend." And Sergeant Joe Smith said, "You either die a hero or live long enough to become a villain." And I believe that's from Spider-Man. The God, what was the multiverse one?
Oh, really?
Where there's 3 of them?
The second multiverse? Or is that the third multiverse? I think that's the second multiverse.
I don't remember the name of the movie, but I believe that's from Spider-Man.
Oh, wait, you're talking about the movie where all 3 of the actors show up at the same movie.
Yeah. Black Cat Outdoors out there.
Wow.
Good evening.
Must be getting up, getting ready to go out to work.
Going fishing.
Instead of just wishing.
The Saint is bringing up how SIG's using tungsten infused plastic.
That sounds interesting. I wonder if it becomes magnetic when you do stuff like that.
I don't know.
I wonder if you can still, like, what's the word? What do you call that when they take a heat gun to it? Stipple it. I wonder if you can still stipple it and stuff when you do that.
I don't know.
Yeah,
Probably.
Black Cat said he's just got in the car. He's headed for work.
If you worked as a fisherman, then we'd all been right.
And I don't know if I said hi to Gunmetal Guy USA.
Good evening.
So I can stop screen sharing.
Started posting all my stuff as podcasts again, and it's crazy how many people listen to podcasts. Way more people listen to podcasts than YouTube videos.
Yeah, I saw your post where you had the graph.
Yeah, it's like 17,000% or something crazy.
Wow.
When you start at 0, it's not that hard, but still. Or I mean, almost 0. It's not that hard, but
Oh,
Got at least 4 or 5 people who download my podcast every week. So
you're on the Bean.
yes.
Yeah, I just started kind of moving everything over to the Bean. I had been putting it all over, so I think it's just accumulating everything, I think. Or at least that's part of it.
I know I would have trouble keeping up with if I tried to add in downloading stuff to podcasts.
Yeah, and it's annoying because the show ends. You can't just do the thing right then and finish it. Like, it takes, I don't know, a day or something before you can at least for me, the thing I'm using, it takes like a day before it'll finish rendering or whatever it does with YouTube before I can grab the audio from it. So I can't even do it all in one scoop. I have to do it as a separate session, and it's definitely another, thing to do.
I take it out of StreamYard.
There's an audio at StreamYard?
Yeah, at the end, after you end the stream, there's a button up in the upper right, and one of your choices is to download recordings, and you could do an audio recording or a video recording. That way, you don't have to wait for YouTube.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, I'd have
That's the way I do it every week.
I got that place full, so I think it just doesn't even tell me anymore because it's, full. So I'll just delete everything in there and do it that way. Thanks. Yeah, because that makes it a lot easier when you can just kind of finish it all at once and be on to the next show or whatever.
What are you doing up, barbecue?
Oh,
Having some celery and
no, I got a new printer because I had to print up certificates for the novice kids for our banquet on Friday. And since, about 2 p.m., I've been trying to get it to install, and it's been an absolute nightmare. But I finally got it to install, and then it was giving me errors, and then paper jams, even though there was no paper jam. And long story short, stuff's finally printed, and you're live. So it's like, hey, I'm going to jump into Pasha's show.
Well, I appreciate it.
what brand of printer did you get?
Canon. It's like pretty much the same exact printer as my old one, except this one does color. And why, like, it came with a disc to install it, but for some reason, this time it had to have the printer plugged into the computer as well. It couldn't just install from the disk. Like, it had to recognize the printer. It was a friggin' nightmare.
The only thing I could think of, just from what you're saying, is if sometimes if you have two from the same brand, when one removes and it leaves something behind, that might confuse the next one or something.
Yeah, I haven't owned a Canon printer in ages. I just bought a new HP at the end of last year.
I've had Canons. I like them usually.
That's what I have now is a Canon.
Is it ink?
LaserJet.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm gonna say for what you're paying for ink cartridges compared to the toner cartridges, and for the amount of pages you get, I was like, it's a no-brainer.
I wanted to get a color laser, but the cost of it, plus the fact that those things are so heavy, it's like
Yes.
carrying a 60 or 70 pound box up 2 flights of stairs. It's like, I don't want it that bad. I can
Yeah.
get by with it.
Color
And
lasers are
then I actually pulled up a report on my other laser printer of how many pages I print a year, and it's like less than 100. It's like, you don't print that much. You can get by fine with an inkjet printer. So
color lasers are essentially a different, like 4 laser printers in one unit. You know, it's a laser printer for this color, a laser printer for that color. So that's why
they're huge. They take up a buttload of room on your
Yep.
But
shelf.
I'll throw my shout out for them. I have a Xerox, and it's expensive. I think it was $600 or something. But man, I like it. I really do like it.
This was 200. I mean, granted, with laser printers, I mean, the colors aren't quite as good as you get with ink, but as like for what I'm planning on using it for, I'm willing to make that sacrifice. It's not for printing photos or anything. It's just for stuff for wrestling season next year, things like that. Printing up awards for the kids, and just things to try and keep them competitive, and give them some recognition for tournaments that they compete in, and where they place, all that fun stuff. So yeah, I was like, for doing that, this will do just fine.
Yeah, I've just got I forget what. God, I can't even think of the model name, but it's an inkjet. I've never had a laser printer, but I've gone through laser printers, and I even had a dye sublimation printer for a while. Which,
Really? At home?
Yeah. I didn't think it really did much better than the inkjets.
Well, they can print on T-shirts and stuff, right?
Well, I had it mainly for photo printing.
I don't know which one's best. I just went with laser because I was doing quantity, and it was the cheapest.
Yeah.
A few years ago, I ended up buying a black and white laser, and it's a Brother, and I paid like $99 for it, and that thing's been a beast.
Yeah, black and white lasers are awesome, and they're cheap.
I mean, it's great, but I wanted something if I wanted to print the occasional color thing.
Yep.
And so I ended up buying something at Best Buy that was like on sale for right around $30 or something like that.
I was gonna say you can get like a pretty good $30 one sometimes. Just
Yeah,
to
works
have a long.
works fine.
They don't always last forever, or at least you can't always buy the cartridges forever. So they kind of have an
No,
expiration.
but you can get them from Vine.
Ah, okay, yeah, third party, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
The one I have now, I bought it because I wanted a Wi-Fi printer so I could print stuff off my phone or tablet. And I should have read up a little more. I didn't realize that, at least with this one, you had to, everything had to be linked to the same Wi-Fi router. So my phone didn't talk directly to the printer, which was okay when it all worked. And then I forget what happened where none of the Wi-Fi stuff worked for it. And I have never been able to get it to hook back up to the Wi-Fi. So it's plugged in again now.
Oh,
They're like an Etch a Sketch. You just have to pick it up and shake it, and it'll reset.
probably the silly thing picked up a different IP address from your router, and now everything's confused. I've seen that happen before.
Yes.
So you got to go in and set a static IP, and then you don't have those problems anymore.
For the computer stuff, usually it's get everything set up and then everything works great for years. And then once everything screws up, I can't remember how I got it to all work in the first place. That's kind of where I'm at with that printer.
If I can't figure out how to make this printer work, I'm sending it back because, like tonight, I had to print off 21 certificates. And once I finally got it to start printing, and I started printing the certificates, after each certificate, it would say paper jam. So I'd have to click the OK button, then it would print the next one, but then it would immediately say paper jam. So I'd have to keep hitting the OK button after each certificate.
Did you have what was the situation with the paper in the thing? Because sometimes mine, let's say if it's a half full, it'll complain. If it's a 3/4 full, it's happy. So like the little lever that comes down and indicates if it's full of paper or not.
I tried all sorts of ways before I even started printing the certificates because I was doing test runs to see because I was doing the certificates on parchment paper, and I didn't want to waste any of it because it's not exactly cheap.
Yeah, I got to print it like a label or something probably.
So I was just doing the test runs on regular printer paper. So I tried, like quarter of the way, 3/4 of the way, halfway, you name it, everything in between, and it didn't matter. It just kept doing it.
That's lame. That's frustrating as shit.
Yeah.
I'm like Gizzard. At one time, I needed one for something a long time ago, and I just went and bought a $30 one from wherever, big box store, and it worked for a long time. But like I say, then they quit making the cartridges, and I was like, "Fucking, I'm getting the laser," because I only needed black and white at the time.
Well, that's where they make their money. That's why cheap inkjets are so cheap, because they make so much money off the refills.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. I said, that's one of the reasons why I was like, I'm just going to go with laser, because anymore ink refills, they're $50-$60 a piece.
Yeah.
And I'm like, for all 4 toner cartridges for this laser jet, it's $200 for all 4 of them. And that will get, I think it said like 2,500 pages, black and white, and I think another 1,700 color.
In some cases, it's almost just as cheap to go buy a new printer as it is to go buy the cartridges.
Right?
Seriously.
That's the way it was in the 2000s. Because you could get printers for like $40-$50 with, and they would have brand new cartridges in them.
It's like razors.
Razors? What are razors?
I don't buy razors anymore, but I remember when I used to, you could go buy a new razor, like a new Gillette with 2 blades in it for like 10, $15, or you could go buy the new pack of razor blades to, swap out, and it was like 3 times that. I was like, it actually makes more sense just to buy the new razor with 2 blades.
And in Daddy's day, razors had 1 blade, and then they figured out, well, 2 blades work better than 1. Well, guess what? 3 work better than 2, and now, shoot, you got what, 4 or 5 blades? It's like, when are we going to have a razor that has like 20 blades right in a row, So.
Yep.
I got one of the kind like my grandpa used, which was just a regular double-sided razor blade
Double edge? Oh, yeah.
that clamps into that thing. So I got one of them, and it works pretty good. But it, like you say, it's one razor. It's one edge, and it's a little creepy because it just feels like the blade is more exposed or whatever. But once you get past that, it's just nowhere near as effective as like barbecue sand, the little ones that I get ones that are completely disposable because I hate the environment, I guess. But I use the crap out of them before I throw them away. But with what 3 blades, I guess the little cheap ones have, they're just completely better than 1 blade. It's just
I went
no
I went back to single blade ones, but
Really?
I just use it for trimming up around the edges. It's not worth buying the multi blade prices
True.
for just doing the the little bit of trimming.
The reason I did this though is because I can't, at least at my stores, they don't even sell the cheap ones anymore. Like all they have is like expensive disposables, and I refuse to pay a lot for a disposable.
I think the last bunch I just bought off Amazon.
Well, I never thought of that. I should buy
Well,
stuff
you can
off
get
Amazon.
those. You can get those services you sign up for where they send you so many razors a month, like
Like Harry's.
Harry's or
I
was
get
it
that.
Dollar Shave Club used to be.
The Dollar Shave Club, you could go to who they bought their stuff from, who I think they actually owned, and then buy directly from them for cheaper than Dollar Shave. But I think that was kind of, they were making money either way.
Well, yeah, it's a scam. Of course it was.
Hillbilly Up is out there. Good evening. Must not be able to sleep.
Well, that's why he calls himself Hillbilly Up, because he's up usually most of the time. So.
Yeah, for a while I went through the expensive multi-blade things, and it's like, wow, I got tired of spending all that money, and then when I grew a beard, it's like there's no reason to be buying those.
What about those things with 3 circles? I used to have one of them when I was in the army, and I liked it a lot.
They're like the Norelcos.
Yeah, I don't know what it was, but I
That's
was
what
all
Dad
happy
always
because
shaved with, yeah.
I had one that you could go in the shower with, and you could just recharge it. It was like the bee's knees back in the day.
I had a Norelco for a while, but it would cut my neck.
Yeah,
So
that's probably why I quit using it too.
Then I bought a Braun, and
yeah, I had a Braun.
they work all right. But
Well, they got blades, so you have to replace the blades every
still,
once in a
there
while.
ain't no electric razor shaves as good as blades. I'm sorry.
No,
Nope.
no.
Not even close.
Nope.
No.
And then when I would switch back and forth, your face needs to get used to what you're doing, whether you're shaving with a razor or when you switch to electric razor, your skin needs to get used to it. You'll have a reaction to it.
Oh, it give me a rash, yeah.
Yeah. Hipparchus is out there. Good evening. He says, sleep? What's that?
Should have a poll before we start the bracket.
Well, I'm still on the bracket cooldown since we just did a bracket.
It was a pretty spicy bracket.
Has to be recharged.
If you don't, it's a slow cooldown process. If you rush it, then you get a meltdown. So,
Oh, I know all about meltdowns.
Still can't believe that EV muscle car won.
yeah, I think you were on the road, so you missed the bracket.
Me?
Thinking about making it a once a month, doing once a month brackets on Sundays.
Can't build a shelf with one bracket.
So the next one, if and when we do the next one, it will be the worst car. What's the worst
Worst
car?
car or the worst car in a movie?
Just worst car, like Escort, Pinto, Pacer, Yugo.
You didn't have to own said car.
Oh, have you seen the? I don't know if it's just a concept car or if they're actually producing them, but the new VW vans.
Oh, I saw those. Yeah. Get a whole new generation of hippies. That'd be kind of cool.
Me. Yeah. Jesus.
I did see this. I mean, I haven't seen one. I think I've seen the picture somewhere.
I don't know. It's interesting. Here, me.
Is it front engine? Is that why it looks like that?
I don't know if it is. I just happened to see a picture when I don't even know what I was doing that came across the picture.
I mean, except for the dashboard or except for the windshield, it seems
It's electric.
the arrangement. Oh. Ooh.
Oh, does that ruin it for you?
I'm losing any interest in electric. Electric is fine, like for cities. I could totally see it. Like people in cities should have to own electric. It's your fault for living in a city. You lost your ability to have a gas car. But I think that would work for everybody, right? People in the country can have gas cars. People in the city have to have electric cars. But I'm not interested in having an electric.
Why
Supposed
can't they put solar panels on top of these things so they charge themselves while they're going down the road?
Well, they've
Supposed to
done
come
that
out
with
this year.
concept vehicles, and it doesn't work out. I mean, you can trickle, you can help, but you know what I mean? It's not enough space to do it, even in California or someplace where there's a lot of sun, or down here where there's a lot of sun. If they had some sort of a sail or something, like a awning that went up, that opened up, maybe that would work.
See, now Gaston could have figured out a way to make this work.
But as an in-town delivery vehicle, I guess I could see it.
Yeah. I don't know.
It's all right.
It's interesting. Doesn't wow me.
Maybe that's what Glock will do next, is they're going to come out with a car.
Would you see Pink posted they have watches? Like a whole line of really expensive.
Yeah, I think I saw you talking about it.
That'd be terrifying if Glock came out with a car.
They'd only have one.
The steering column angle would be all screwed up.
Only one car, and it'd be like perfection.
Everybody complain about the steering wheel angle.
Baron's talking about the torque on the electric cars. I think I mentioned that before, where I actually saw, I was sitting at a stoplight and there was a Tesla that took off kind of crossing, and I wasn't, the motion is what caught my eye. So I didn't see it take off, but I saw it going across the intersection, and he must have floored it because damn, those are fast. Because with the electric, it's just instant torque.
I've seen all kinds of, because Instagram still will throw dumb shit like that at me. And even though I tell it, don't show me this anymore, it still test it by throwing it at me. But people in like parking lots, like at a used car place or at a dealership or something where it's like a lot of cars, people hauling ass in a Tesla or electric car because of that. They must not, they must like slant and not realize, I'm assuming, it's usually not trying to destroy a bunch of cars, but, and then they end up hitting a bunch of cars.
Yeah, on I can never remember if I was looking at Instagram Reels or YouTube Shorts. I think it was on the YouTube Shorts, and it kept showing me a channel that I would hit the three dots and say, "Don't recommend this channel," and it kept showing me that same channel over and over and over. It's like, God damn it, no, you're gonna watch this channel.
Yeah, exactly. I quit watching shorts because of that one where there's a doorway and some guy's reaching his hand in and some other asshole comes along and slams him with like a hammer or something. I'm sick of watching that video. It shows me like every time I open up YouTube Shorts, it shows me that freaking video.
I'll probably get my flight tickets in the next couple days for Thunder on the Prairie 2024.
Yay!
Coming up. When is it? April?
June
First weekend in June.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'm still not sure if I want to bring something with me, then I have to check a bag and then I have to pay more. So I'll probably decide when I'm looking at tickets, at prices and stuff, but so I'm looking forward to it. It's a lot of fun. Hopefully barbecue, if you get the chance, you can make it.
I am registered. I'm just gonna have to figure out what I'm gonna do about lodging, because seeing as I did not realize the APB had gone out about it, I registered about 3 weeks late, so all the bunkhouse spaces were taken.
Huh. There must be a lot of people going then, because like last year, I know.
They can cram 12 in a bunkhouse, I think. So.
Well, over in the main room, there's how many?
I think there's 4 bedrooms and each hold 2 people.
And then I was over in another section that had 3 beds.
Oh, it had 3? Okay.
Yeah. Which was
Maybe.
nice. I got to be all by myself with air conditioning.
I reserved a place with 3 beds and 2 of the bedrooms for myself. I'm not going to go, but I just reserved all those rooms in case I go. I want to have some privacy.
And I know they were talking last year about he wants to do central air conditioning, which would be nice. I don't know if he'll have that up and running for this year, but
yeah, it would be nice. Because when you shut those bedroom doors, the air really can't get in there.
yeah, and it was fairly warm last year. I think when I was talking with my wife, because I felt kind of sick the second day, had a headache, I felt like a hangover is what it felt like, but I hadn't.
What's the altitude?
What's that?
Altitude, maybe it's probably 2,000 feet or something.
Well, my wife was saying, well, it was probably just heat stroke.
Could be dehydration, maybe.
Well, because I was fairly well hydrated. I was drinking water the whole time.
Okay.
And then, when I'd go to the bathroom, it was clear. It wasn't, dark colored or anything. So I had a lot of fluids in me, but just like the flight back, it was horrible.
It's 1,350 feet above sea level.
Is that enough to affect people, you think?
I don't know. I live in 1,000 feet above. So
I wouldn't think so. I think it was. Yeah, I don't know.
Doesn't seem like it's enough to make anybody lightheaded. Like it takes Denver usually for people to feel it.
it could have been allergies too.
There was a lot of 9mm around that can make you.
That's right. There was an awful lot of 9.
Yeah, and I think I touched some of it, so that might have been it.
Gotta
But-
wash your hands.
The other thing is that I realized if I do check a bag, then I can bring stuff back, which I couldn't last time because I didn't check a bag. So like when they were giving out, because Meade was like, here, we don't want to take this ammunition home. People, so they're giving it to people. But since I only had carry on, I couldn't take any with me.
Well, you could have it. You could put it into some sort of a container or a box, and then have that wagon trained to somewhere in another state where they have the U.S. mail, and then send that home to yourself. I'm assuming Nebraska doesn't have U.S. mail.
Well, I think they do, because DJ had given me an old advertisement for an apple farm in Washington that he somehow found in Nebraska.
Huh.
And I was afraid to take it with me in my baggage because I didn't want to ruin it. So I had Travis P11. I asked him to mail it to me. So it had a better chance of making their intact. Well, shipping ammo home, can be costly because it's a hazardous item.
Yeah, it's just another $8 or whatever. If it's a lot of ammo, it's worth it. If it's trash ammo like 9mm, it's not worth it. You just throw that stuff away. Throw that to the hogs, and they'll eat it.
But I probably will bring a bag because I want to bring my. Gonna bring probably my Derringer, the 357 Derringer, the Bond Arms Roughneck, and I'm gonna bring in my Super Blackhawk, the 44 Magnum.
Have you been looking at
Nice.
Have you been looking at any of the comments lately?
No.
What if you carpooled with somebody?
Well,
Or have delivery?
Aaron.
Barrett said he's going. Well, that's what last year,
Oh, snap.
because he doesn't like to fly. So I was going to drive with him if he went, just so he wouldn't have to drive alone. But it's 24-hour drive. So I'll admit I was not looking forward to driving for that long. And I figured with my vehicle, it would, I think, was it 6 or 8 stops total there and back if I get, really good gas mileage.
I was looking at something. How many miles or how many hours is driving?
24 hours.
Okay.
Yeah, but you could see some sights along the way, though, and kind of you can make road trips fun.
I was going to say, I just got back from San Diego, and Greg went with me, so it was a different trip because even though it was 6+ hours, there's somebody to chat with, so it was people to talk, somebody to talk to. But 24 is definitely different than 6 hours.
Oh, he's driving a Blazer. Ugh. So it's like 15 stops for gas for him.
Well, that's the way to do it, though. Go and make a road trip out of it.
It's a lot easier to bring guns if you're driving than it is on a plane.
When you drive from Washington to Nebraska, you don't have to pass through any dumb states with stupid laws, do you?
Yeah, that's, I would bring my 300 Blackout with the suppressor if it wasn't for the stupid NFA garbage, the ridiculousness.
Oh, that's right. You have to have permission.
Yeah.
You don't have to have permission. You just have to inform them that you're doing it. You don't have to wait for an okay. You just have to do the diligence or whatever it's called. You have to tell them and it's happening, which is lame, but it's not. You don't have to wait for them to say okay.
Yeah, you just have to, hey, this is where I'm going.
Yeah. You just
It's going with me.
Yep. And it's not, it was more of an issue back in the day when people were unfamiliar with it, but concealed carry, getting traffic stops with concealed carry, even in states where they're not super familiar, they're at least, or super comfortable, they're at least familiar, right? So I think that's got to be, I don't know, but I'm assuming that's got to be less and less of an issue. I'm about to look at a map, but what you're going to be driving through potentially a drive would go through Idaho, Wyoming. I have to look at a map to see what roads you would take, but the states you're going to go through, I would say 99% of the sheriffs or state police are going to have a suppressor anyway. You know what I mean? They're not going to be unfamiliar with them or be scared of them or care about it at all. Probably be more like, oh, how do you like it?
Take it out, wave it around. Here, look at it.
Take it off your seat next to you.
Well, it's customary when you meet someone who has a can and you have a can that you screw it onto some kind of a gun and shoot a bunch of rounds off. It's a traditional meeting. It's can.
Mm-hmm.
So let's see. You would drive through Washington, Idaho, Wyoming. Oh, you know what? You'd probably go Washington, Idaho, Montana, Wyoming, Nebraska. And then I would go to Denver right away since you're already down there. There's really no roads that go from like the middle of North Dakota through South Dakota into Nebraska and across Kansas. Like there's no north and south. There's just one that goes on the edge of all those states.
Well, if you're coming from North Dakota to Nebraska and you hit Kansas, you done overshot your target a little bit. I got news for you.
I'm just looking at the country, and there's not like a big up and down north and south highway that goes in the middle of all your states, just at the edge.
I-35, but it's going to be, east of where he is. So. I-35 runs from like Corpus Christi to Minneapolis.
No, I'm sorry. Am I saying east west? I mean north and south. Sorry, I'm saying north and south.
Yeah, I-35 runs north and south.
No, he's coming from the other side. Yeah.
Right.
At what time of year again? June? I think I would make that trip. Well, I mean, I would. It'd be easy to say, but
It's early enough in the summer. It's usually not ungodly hot yet. If it was August, it'd be a different deal entirely.
I think I would take the route down Yakima to Boise, Twin Falls, Salt Lake, Cheyenne, and over. The other one would be Spokane, Bozeman, Billings, cut across or I guess then come down to Casper, and then over to.
Well, if from over here, if you do the Spokane, then you're on 90 the whole way.
Is that 90? Yeah.
Yeah, because that goes all the way across the state.
I think that's the road I drove. Wait, no. I bet you that is the road I drove on. I've been on 90 before.
Yeah, if you go through Idaho, you can say hello to the good folks at Aegis Gun Care.
You'll glide right in and out of Idaho. I assume there's Aegis all over the streets up there.
Oh, yeah.
Hopefully your brakes will still work, but I don't know how that works.
Black Cat wants to avoid Idaho.
I like potatoes.
I don't know. I used to go to Post Falls all the time because my aunt and uncle that lived there. That's kind of over by Spokane.
Post Falls, that's Buck Knives country.
Is that where Buck is?
Mm-hmm.
Looks like most of Idaho is forest, like national forest. Oh no, I'm just looking at the top chunk there. At the bottom, I guess, is less.
I was gonna say, man, I don't know about that.
I was just looking at is that a peninsula? It is a peninsula, isn't it? Or not
Yeah,
a peninsula.
it's like an upwards panhandle.
It's like a panhandle. It's like
Vertical
Oklahoma.
panhandle. They're
Yeah.
trying to hide it by putting it vertical, but it's still a panhandle.
It's one of them states. Yeah.
Yes. They try to
Gotta
hide
watch
it by being a big
panhandle.
triangle. They're like, is it a triangle or is it a panhandle? Well, let's make it vertical and no one will know. Is that like
It's a smokestack.
I've never heard of the story of why Idaho looks like that. It seems like they made Montana and Washington, everybody else, and then they're like, oh yeah, well that'll be Idaho. Or is it all mountains? Maybe like it's all just the ridge. It looks like it's pretty mountainous, but there's mountains in Montana, so it's not like only the mountains. Oh, it even says Idaho Panhandle National Forest. They're super proud of it. It's definitely a panhandle.
At least they're taking ownership.
Yeah, they admit it.
I can respect that.
You get states like Wisconsin and Michigan that they're like, no, it's a peninsula. It's not a panhandle. Minnesota, like, no, it's just a weird triangle. It's not a panhandle.
Black Cat said he was making a Ruby Ridge reference.
Yeah, I figured as much.
Nice. By the way, does anybody want to start a suppressor company with me? I've got the perfect name. You have to do all the other work.
What's the name?
Acorn Suppressor Co. I feel like suppressor companies out there are not capitalizing right now.
I'll do your logo for you.
Oh, snap it. We could make the suppressor look like an acorn.
Ooh.
I don't know how effective that would be, but
Wonder if you could make them out of acorns. That would be really cool.
So you watch any other movies or anything?
There's one that I'm gonna watch. Gentlemen Broncos. I was gonna watch it the other night and fell asleep. I don't know anything about it. I just stumbled across a couple clips on YouTube, and it looks like a bad movie, but kind of that in a good way bad. Have a good night, Hillbilly.
Is it old or new?
Newer. Again, I had never heard of it. Just kind of stumbled across some clips of it and it piqued my interest. So I was gonna watch it after we finish up here if I don't fall asleep.
Yeah, I ended up taking a bit of a nap, but it wasn't feeling great, but it seemed to have made that gone away, so I might stay up for a bit and work on some stuff too.
Well, I went to bed early, so my wife had the day off. And so I went, I don't know, like 4:00, went and laid down and tossed and turned for a couple hours. Fell asleep probably about 6:00. Then woke up at 10:30. Like, ah, shit, I gotta get up. Barkus has been watching the X-Files.
I haven't watched that show in a long time. Does it hold up? Did you watch the X-Files? Did you guys watch the X-Files?
I did. I liked it, and I liked the first movie. I have the first movie on DVD.
I remember liking it, and then I don't know if I quit watching it because I was just working or something or whatever, or if I just got sick of it. But I know I kind of went back in and out of it, and then I think I've seen the movies for sure.
I don't know. The X-Files is kind of like the Next Generation Star Trek, where if it's on, I'll sit down and I'll watch an episode, and then 3-4 hours later realize, God damn it, I've been watching it all day. Larry said he liked the X-Files. Barkus said it's good. Some of the effects are a bit hokey. Yeah, that's something I noticed. It's been a while since I watched it, but kind of as time progresses, you know, when you go back and watch some of the stuff, you realize that the limitations of technology.
I was listening to an interview where they were talking about books and debating between, you know, I got books I want to read that I haven't read yet, and then going back and rereading books that I've enjoyed in the past, type of thing. And the one guy was saying that he doesn't go back and reread books that ever, if he can help it, because at the time when you watch it, or, you know, in this case watch it but read it, you know, you've got your mindset and your worldview and everything, and then if you go back and watch that later, you're gonna, you know, you're gonna have all your, you know, whatever you want to call it, all your baggage of now. So
Yeah.
essentially, you're gonna pick it all apart. And they were talking about like just knowing way more now, that, you know, if they watched a movie that got them going as a kid, then if they started picking it apart, they would be picking apart one of their favorite movies, and they didn't want to do that. You know, they'd rather just remember how they experienced it as a kid than try to. So I'm wondering if some of the TV shows are like that. If, you know, like they say, the bad effects or whatever, it's just so bad that it's like distracting, or like, whoa, how did I think this was cool?
I don't know. It doesn't bother me. I've always done that. Where, you know, movies I love, I'll pick them apart, every flaw that's in it. But I still love the movie.
I think there was a couple of ones that I went back and watched that were from the 90s, and I remember them being way cooler than they are, but again, they still had that significance then. They were cool then. They might not still hold up, but oh well, you know, black and white movies can't hold up to new movies. You know, it's just the nature of technology and stuff.
Yeah, well, if I like to watch old black and white movies and stuff, but I'll watch them in the context of when they were made. So the limitations don't bother me as much.
Yeah, well, especially if it's something that it was old when I grew up, but something that I remember as being awesome, watching it and going, "Oh wait, this wasn't awesome."
There were
E.T.
some
good one. I didn't like E.T. that much, but if you watch E.T., it's like, oh man, this was kind of crude. We just, you know, it was amazing for us back then, but
Yeah.
now it's like, oh man, it's compared to CGI, this is nothing.
Well, especially after they took the guns out and put in walkie-talkies.
Oh shit, I have to rewatch it now.
Oh,
Oh man, no, the show's gonna be over now. It's just ending.
he does this on purpose because he knows, Barron knows the few things that really, really drive me crazy. Ghost in the Shell is one of them. I hate that movie. I love Ghost in the Shell, and they ruined it. The what's her face? Who was in it?
Oh, as soon as you said that, I can't think of her name. It's a long name.
But they ruined the story. It's like that one and the Speed Racer. He liked Speed Racer. It's Speed
Oh,
Racer.
the live action one, I do though
Yes.
too. I like that one a lot, actually.
Oh dear God, no.
I know it's not Speed Racer, but Scarlett Johansson things. It's so weird and goofy that I like it, but I don't like. I wish it would. I'd be happy if it wasn't Speed Racer, because I'd like to just like it as a weird, like, I don't know what to call it, like a pop movie or something, like a weird mix between animation and whatever. So yeah, if they would have done it with like Golgo 13 or something, well, I would have like rather see a cool Golgo 13. But you know what I mean? If they would have stick some other cartoon in there, it'd be fine. But I did like it. It took me a while. I didn't like it at first.
Yeah. Cowgirl Candace, yeah, he has to deal with it. 24/7. I feel for you. But I mean, that the Ghost in the Shell movie, the 2017 one, it started out great because it was basically shot for shot from the series, the anime series. And then from there, they just kind of fucked it all up. You know, instead of being an exploration of what it is to be human, they turned it into a revenge movie, which the anime was never about. Visually, yes, it looked great, but the writing was horrible.
It's when they try to, well, I'm thinking of like Hitchhikers, where they try to cram too much when there's a lot to work with, and they go, "Oh, we might only have this one movie. We only have one shot. Let's try to put everything in there," and then they end up, it's like, no, you could have slowed down there and put half as much in there, and people would have liked it just as much, if not better. And or at least the people that are just looking at it on the surface, because I think they're looking at it as a commodity, like, oh, this would make a good visual effects movie. Then you have to see if they cared about being true to the work or the story or whatever. And if somebody's only halfway into it and they're like, oh, I'm enthusiastic about this, but I want it to have, wanted to include 2 books, or but let's make it, potentially a 2-parter, so let's only include half the story. Sometimes they do that kind of stuff too.
Yeah.
So yeah, I agree. It looked cool, but I don't have the same. I don't know the original work enough.
Yeah, I never saw the manga. I just know that
Is the manga the cartoon?
What's that?
Is the manga the cartoon or the comic?
The comic.
Okay.
The anime is there was the first 2 anime movies, and then there was the series, second gig, and I can't remember the name of the other season. Standalone complex. That's Barkus. Yeah, there's somebody that whose chat? I'll see him in one of the chats. I don't know if it's Yankees or yours or Gary's, but they use for their little icon is the laughing man. That's from Ghost in the Shell.
Oh yeah.
Well, that one troll guy that came into my
No, it's
time.
It's not. I don't think they're a troll. I haven't seen them in a while. But I don't think they were trolling. I think they were just hanging out.
I'm looking for the image.
Yeah, me too. I think I know who you're talking about.
It's kind of a outline of a hat, and then a smiley
This
face.
guy with the purple hair.
No.
I'm getting a whole bunch of this weird logo. Laughing Man.
So it's
Laughing Man?
It's this one.
Oh, okay. That is the thing?
Yeah.
I don't remember who had that logo then. I was looking for I thought you were...
No, I've never seen that.
Yeah, without the writing, but just the inner circle part. But like I said, it's been a while since I've seen them hanging around. I think the anime talk has chased everybody off because everybody's gone now.
Dude, I was doing a chat before today. Yeah, it was early this morning or whatever. Wait, was it this morning? Yeah, it wasn't yesterday's. I think it was today's. And right at the end, like I got dozens and dozens and dozens of people joining. It was weird. They didn't say nothing. They just thought like, unless StreamYard is broke, like the counter just started going up. I'm like, what the heck? So that's the only movie you've seen then? No other movies?
What was the? Yeah, the last one I watched was when I rewatched the 20,000 Leagues.
Okay. I've actually been watching most of the YouTube videos lately. I haven't really been watching movies.
I've been watching the Hannah Gutierrez trial, which she was convicted of basically involuntary manslaughter.
That the parent of a killer thing?
No, she's she was an armorer on Rust.
Oh yeah.
So she's supposed to be sentenced in like April, I think. But it's like a maximum of 18 months. And then Baldwin's trial starts in, I think, August. I was watching the Law of Self-Defense lawyer, his feed of it, which I thought he did a good job presenting it. And there's a lot of simps out there.
What does that mean?
Guys defending her, which, based on the law, basically she was guilty because she was negligent. She loaded the gun, handed it to the assistant director, who handed it to Baldwin. She admitted to loading the gun. She admitted to knowing it was a real gun. She admitted to not checking the rounds, and so did the assistant director. And he did a plea deal, ended up with 6 months unsupervised probation. But a lot of guys defending her. Oh, this is disgusting what they're doing to her. She did it. She admitted. The interview with the police, she had basically admitted to everything, not doing her job.
And she's the daughter of a guy who does this for a living, and she grew up doing it or being around it and everything?
Yeah. And that was basically her defense was she didn't have enough time to do her job, and she because she originally was only supposed to have like 4 or 5 days, armorer days, and then they expanded that to 12. And when she wasn't doing armorer stuff, she was supposed to be helping with props. And so basically the defense was throwing everything at the,
That she was overworked and it was...
Well, that was one of the news stories I read on Foul Territory last week. Was part of the story is that Baldwin was kind of demanding on the shooting schedule and stuff like that, and he kept wanting to reshoot scenes over and over and over. So she would literally have to keep reloading the gun, and so pressure, and he also being the producer and everything. So,
and it wasn't an issue of like somebody else took the gun out of her and was shooting with it, and she didn't know about it or something. It was like,
well, it not basically nothing that was brought up really mattered, because when it came down to it, she loaded 5 rounds into it. They I can't remember if they did some of the blocking, and then she loaded a 6th round into it, The first time I think she handed it to Baldwin himself, and then the second time she handed it to the AD who handed it to Baldwin. But she loaded it. At no time was the gun ever not in view of basically a lot of people. They didn't do the safety check on the rounds that they're supposed to do. You know, they shake them, and if it's the type that has the BBs in it, you can hear the rattle, so they know it's not live, or it has a hole drilled in it. Basically, she opened up the cylinder and spun it, but didn't even spin it all the way. So they didn't do their safety checks. That's why the AD, who was supposed to be head of safety, did his plea deal. And
So this wasn't like a Brandon Lee where there was a squib that killed somebody. This was
no, it was a live round.
projectile put into the wrong gun at the wrong time.
So, and that was the defense, you know, tried to say, well, the round came from here or the round came from there. That doesn't matter. She put the round in the gun. She didn't check that round to see if it was live or not when she put it in the gun. You know, that's why she was convicted of. I don't think they call it involuntary manslaughter, but basically that's what it is.
Negligent homicide or something?
Yeah, something like that. But again, it's only like 18 months. And she was,
Or maybe reckless homicide, but that seems like your derelict of duty is more than just negligent. Like negligent is like, oh, I didn't expect the unexpected, right? But like not doing your job is more of like, I would think that's more, what's the word? Like you're more, whatever the word is, like you're more guilty than that, or like you're whatever.
She was also up on evidence tampering, which I think they didn't convict her on that. She had like some cocaine, and I don't know the whole. I missed part of it, so I don't know the whole thing about the cocaine. But she spent a lot of time. She gave it to somebody else, and then spent a lot of time trying to find that cocaine again. Though she never admitted to being cocaine. I think they said it was like sugar, powdered sugar or something. But there's like lots of text of her trying to find that powdered sugar. But again, I don't know exactly what all was involved in that part. But so I've been watching that for the last couple of weeks.
Just out of casual interest, or is it like amazingly interesting?
More just, I don't know, morbid curiosity. I don't really have any feelings either way.
It's kind of like the OJ trial when it was on. Everybody watched.
Yeah. And like when Baldwin comes up, there's a lot of people that want to see him convicted because they hate Baldwin, which that's not.
I mean, he
not
is
the
a
way the legal
douchebag, but
system
that's
is
not a
supposed to work.
crime.
Oh, he is, and they showed clips of him on set being a douchebag. But that's not. If he's convicted, that's not why you convict somebody, because they're a douchebag. You convict them because they broke the law.
But if you're such an a-hole that you create an environment that makes it difficult for somebody to do their job, they're saying it's she was originally a film student. Oh, wait, no, this was her first time alone. Is that true?
I'm not sure, because there was some project just before that she worked on. It might have got fired from.
Well, okay, but she's not like, she's been doing this her whole life, and this is something that she was negligent of. Like, she just didn't know what she didn't know, and it was, again, Baldwin's fault for hiring somebody who wasn't.
It's not that she didn't know. She knew. She, in her police interviews, she basically admitted to everything, with her lawyer sitting there not doing anything, which is, she had a terrible lawyer. Because it's not like, they grabbed the caterer and said, take care of these guns. She knew the process that she's supposed to do it. She didn't do it. That's basically all it comes down to. Baron is saying, wasn't her dad a famous Hollywood artist? He was. I think that's probably how she kind of got into it, because of her dad's name. But she was still kind of being mentored by other people. That was kind of brought up. But, like I said, it basically comes down to she didn't check that live round. She didn't catch that she was putting a live round into that revolver. And that was her job. She admitted that's her job, and she failed. The prosecutor, it's kind of interesting. The prosecutor, she's actually a defense attorney, and she was chosen as a special prosecutor. She did a really good job. And she's the same person that's going to prosecute Baldwin. But like I said, I don't really have a dog in this fight. It's just kind of curious to see the process.
Okay, so then bigger picture, how do you think it'll affect public perception of gun ownership and guns and gun owners?
I don't think it'll have
if at all.
I don't think it will have a large effect at all.
Is it the kind of thing where if you hate guns, you're looking at this and feeding your hate, and if you love guns, you're looking at this and feeding your love?
Yeah, I think it's more if you hate Baldwin rather than the gun.
Oh, okay. So this is more of like Hollywood and that guy in particular versus the whole gun issue.
I think so.
Yeah, I agree.
Because it's not like it's an AR-15 or something where they can be all worried about it. It's a freaking, single action revolver?
Yeah.
What's the gun anyway? It has to be something that shoots cartridges then. Like a Ruger or something?
It was a Pieta, I think.
Oh, okay. And what was it, 38?
No, 45 Colt.
Oh, shit. It's a pretty big bullet to not be paying attention to. It's freaking huge.
Oh, Mr. Barbecue, are you still awake? Maybe not.
He's printing right now.
Probably beating that printer with a baseball bat. Well, we'll go to Mr. Gary. Mr. Gary, is there anything you would like to plug?
Oh, Friday night, Foul Territory, 9 p.m. Central. Love to have everybody there. And as always, thanks for having me on.
Thanks for being on. And let me do this. Dearwebsites.com for 2A stickers, patches, books, logo design, web design, 3D printing, technology consulting, and so much more. Dearwebsites.com. Is there anything you would like to plug, G-Webs?
Let's see. Tomorrow's Christmas 740's got a show. Gear Report's got a show. That's it.
Okay.
Thanks for hosting.
So this weekend is supposed to be an overnight. I don't have a clue what we're going to talk about. Hopefully I'll think of something.
And don't forget the time changes.
Oh, Lordy. Yeah, that's always kind of a hassle because I start the show before it changes for me, but for everybody east, over there on the metric coast, it changes for them before the show starts. So Yeah. So if you're in Eastern Standard Time, just sit by your computer, start, I don't know, noon, and then at some point the overnight will start. And so I will say goodnight for barbecue. I don't know if you can hear me, if you're laying on the floor, but I appreciate you being here, barbecue. It's always fun to have you on here. And for those out in the live chat that we're chatting it up, I appreciate you. It makes it a whole lot more fun having people to interact with. And if you watch this replay, again, leave a comment. Whatever we talk about. Agree with, disagree with. Let me know if you hate Baldwin, love Baldwin. I think he's a great actor. He's just an asshole. And
Great actor.
A lot of actors are. Yeah, I wouldn't go that far.
I think he is a really good actor, personally. Yeah. So, other than that, I hope everybody has a good rest of the night and go do something good.